Mr. Mehta, Mr. Goenka, my distinguished panelists here, ladies and gentlemen. Let me first, at the outset, compliment ASSOCHAM on this very unique initiative to have this conference on the big fintech revolution that is taking place in India. We are truly in the midst of one of the biggest disruptions that is happening. We're the only country in the world with 1 billion mobile. We're the only country in the world with 1 billion biometric. No other country has that. And we're the only country in the world with 1 billion bank account. The government of India's objective has been to secure the unsecured, to finance the unfinanced, and to ensure that those who have not been financed are financed. And towards this end, the fintech revolution has played a very key and a very major role. Actually, India is today the third largest and one of the fastest growing fintech markets across the world. And it has attracted approximately about close to $6 billion investments in the last 3 to 4 years since 2014. There are several reports which estimate that India's total fintech software and services market is expected to totally explode and actually will grow to about close to $31 billion by 2020. And the transaction value for Indian fintech sector, which was 33 billion in 2016, will be reaching about 73 billion in 2020, growing at a 5-year compound annual growth of about 22%. So this is huge. This is huge. And the most dominant theme of India's fintech growth is the digital payment space, market size of which will be reaching close to about $1 trillion by 2023 from the current market size of just about $200 billion. So just look at this exponential growth from $200 billion to $1 trillion by 2023. Now this massive technological leapfrogging has been enabled by what we call the India stack. And it's a technology stack comprising of 4 layers. The presence-less layer, which is Aadhaar, from where you can do a transaction by using your biometric and you don't need to be physically present. A paperless layer, which is digital locker and the digital signature. The cashless layer, which is the unified payment interface, which connects all the banks at the back end. The Aadhaar payment bridge, the Bharat Pay and many other things. And finally, the consent layer, that is the access fee. We in Government of India have played a key role in this. We've been an active catalyst for the fintech industry by truly disrupting payments. Through this, the disruption has taken place in a very big way. And the disruption has been driven by all these layers of consent permission, of driving cashless digital locker, of presence-less authentication through Aadhaar. And we've powered the growth of fintech startups, a vast range of very dynamic fintech startups who have worked with the government and have built the world's, which have really utilized the most advanced payment system, the unified payment interface, the UPI. And look at what UPI has achieved. the UPI, the Unified Payment Interface, took less than 8 months to reach $1 billion in transaction. And this was the fastest ever globally by any financial product. And if, in addition to the Bharat interface for money, what we call as the BHIM, UPI has empowered several private players. And it's important to understand this because unlike China, where all data is owned by Alibaba or, private entities, here in USA, it's owned by Google or Facebook. In India, we've created public entities. So you have data which is owned, digital payment data which is owned by UPI. You have taxation data which is owned by GST. You have the new Ayushman Bharat which will control health data of 500 million Indians. That's more than the population of USA, Europe and Mexico put together. That's the health insurance data. And we have income tax. Many of us don't realize this, but 99% of Indians pay direct tax online, and 96% of it is settled within a period of 6 months. All digital. And therefore, unlike China or unlike USA, we've created public highways like the National Highway on which we've allowed private sector to do innovation. A lot of private sector has done innovation. Just look at UPI. And on top of UPI, the growth of Paytm, GPay, MobiKwik, PhonePe, WhatsApp, and now Bharat Pay, and a new app, POS machine, Mozambi, which they're selling. It's an Android-based multi-utility one. Mozambi is selling for 99 rupees POS machine. Or Bharat Pay. It's just an app which enables all merchants to do QR-based transactions. And therefore, look at what has happened in India. I mean, if you were to look at our traditional banks, look at State Bank of India. It took them a century to get about 350 million consumers. Paytm got 350 million active users and over 1.5 billion transactions. It just took them about close to 2 years as compared to 100 years. This is what is the fintech revolution. And so what we are doing is technologically leapfrogging. Or look at GPay, which has 25 million active users, 860 million transactions. Or MobiKwik, 107 million active users. Or look at PhonePe, 118 million active users. And so all this on the back of UPI. All these people are growing, all young startups growing and flourishing on the back of UPI. And therefore, if you were to imagine UPI, just imagine UPI was a startup. And imagine the kind of, its valuation, if you were to my mind, if you were to start doing a valuation of UPI, its UPI's valuation, to my mind, would be on par, would have generated a massive valuation. It would have dwarfed several much wanted tech unicorns. Its valuations would have been very high because it's fueling the whole fintech digital payment revolution in India. And therefore, we must recognize that there are young entrepreneurs who are disrupting. There's government and the banks together which created UPI and which has fueled this. And there'll be many emerging technologies which will power the fintech revolution. And actually, fintech industry in India will be solving many of India's unique problems. So Silicon Valley is very innovative. But there are no challenges in Silicon Valley. And therefore, they keep doing driverless cars, they keep doing weapons and armed, defense industry innovations. Whereas in India, the challenges are very different. India's challenges are, how do you do financial inclusion? How do you ensure that we are able to lift people above poverty line? Or how do we provide water, convert wastewater into usable water, and so on. And therefore, many of these solutions of tomorrow will be found in India by young startups. And therefore, my belief always has been that the fintech industry in India will solve for India's unique needs. It will find solution for financial inclusion. It will find solution for access to credit. It will find solutions to India's insurance, and will serve as a solution provider of choice for global financial sector. It will take leadership in capital markets, in fintech infrastructure, in offshore hub for global banks, and increase foray in fintech to emerge as India will emerge because of these startups as one of the fintech global hubs of choice. Now, what is happening is that the financial industry is seeing three major trends globally. Firstly, there's disintermediation at all levels of the value chain. Complete disintermediation. So the consumer is dealing directly with the end product, and there's the rise of P2P business models. Secondly, we are seeing the development of unique payment interfaces. And thirdly, we are seeing the use of advanced data techniques. There's big data, there's machine learning, and there's the use of artificial intelligence. All this is being fueled by the fintech revolution. And therefore, all these will be used for bringing in financial inclusion. And I've always been saying that there is no future for physical banks. There is no future for physical bank managers. I was working in the fisheries sector of Kerala some times back, and my job was to lift traditional fishermen above poverty line. So we provided them new fishing crafts, new fishing nets, new outboard motors, but opening their bank accounts was a nightmare. Know your customer was a nightmare. It used to take 7-8 months for traditional fishermen to get their bank accounts. Running after bank managers, running after banks was a nightmare. Today, you can open a bank account using your biometric in 55 seconds. 55 seconds. So the paradigm shift has been from 7-8 months to 55 seconds. And therefore, what will happen is, as a consequence of this, will be a lot of data. And fintech will utilize this data to do machine learning and artificial intelligence. And therefore, the subjective perspective of the bank manager to open a bank account will not be needed. It will be the data and the artificial intelligence which will enable you to provide lending to the right person. And therefore, the application of artificial intelligence and machine learning in data analytics and consumer service will create the opportunity for exponentially more personalized insights and automation of back-end workflows. And this will really lead to KYC, onboarding, accounts and loan, customer service, brand management, risk and credit. All this will be driven by artificial intelligence. My belief is also that blockchain technology's power to disintermediate opens the door to a host of use cases, especially in the insurance and P2P lending models. Globally, as well as in India, models which allow faster and most trusted access to financial products are enabled with the use of blockchain technology. And I think blockchain technology will increasingly be utilized for international funds transfer. High cross-border transaction fee has been tackled by shorter settlement time. There will be a push towards open banking, which will be a collaborative model in which banking data is shared through application programming interfaces. There will be trading of bank NPAs. There will be NPA registry, and there will be insurance technology, all these interfaces. And apart from UPI, India's stack has enabled completely new low-cost payment interfaces powered by biometric. And these will all be leveraged to bring more people into the digital economy of India. And with India's unique approach of societal platform, integrating with the help of government and allowing private sector companies to improve these interfaces, we will actually globally become a low-cost, secure, and a very frictionless payment interface. And therefore, my belief is that the fintech revolution, and many of which young people sitting here who will drive this, will really be the key driver of ensuring that there is financial inclusion in India, that there's a higher level of insurance in India, and that there's a higher level of credit flow in India, and also that there is a greater level of efficiency with disintermediation. We had recently organized the FinTech Conclave, in which Governor RBI and all the finance secretaries had participated. We had more than 250 thought leaders from banks, insurance companies, startups, etc. And we discussed 5 tracks. Digital, how do we do digital onboarding of customers, merchants for financial inclusion? How do we build financial products for Bharat and the millennial India, the 450 million young people of India who will be driving the financial inclusion agenda? How do we drive the emerging areas of fintech, and how do we fast-track investments in fintech industry? And how do we do, which is again a very big area for all of you to tap. How do you do financial inclusion of medium and small industries? The MSME sector, how do you bring it within the fold of financial inclusion? And therefore, our belief is that this discussion and deliberation has drawn up a lot of a roadmap for the future, which we've taken up with RBI, with the Finance Ministry, DFS, and we'll be driving its implementation. One of the biggest agenda, to my mind, for this new government would be to bring in a fintech revolution. And I tell you, this fintech revolution, with its new technology, will enable a greater level of inclusion, a greater level of insurance, and a greater level of lifting people above the poverty line. The future belongs to all of you who are a part of this great fintech movement. So I wish you all the best, and I compliment ASSOCHAM for doing this. And I'm really delighted that the Punjab National Bank, Mr. Sunil Mehta, is such an active player in driving this fintech revolution, because banks really will be taking the lead in driving this and working in partnership with many of you to drive the fintech revolution. So my compliments to all of you, and I wish you all the best, and I wish that all of you continue to disrupt this movement in a manner which the world has never seen before. Thank you very much.